Hi, good evening. We're back in the meeting room with Akhil from our mortgage broker. Akhil has kindly offered to give us a live example of the difference between buying a buy-to-let property in a personal name and in a company structure. So Akhil, this is the challenge is on to get your maths. Better looking than Carol Vorderman. Right, so this is the property scenario. We're in Bracknell as we stand, so we're going to go with a typical Bracknell house, value of around about £300,000 and the rent being around about £12.50 a month. So, over to you. Let's see what the difference is.
Thank you, Mike. Just before I start, this is just going to be for illustration purposes and it is subject to credit criteria and lender underwriting. So there's a disclaimer. So, Mike, your example. So this is a purchase. 3-bed and it's a semi-detached house, yeah?
Yes.
Perfect, okay. So we've got a purchase price of 300,000 and we've got a monthly rent roll of £1,250 per calendar month. Okay. So for your viewers, what you have to do, you're going to take the monthly rent times that by 12. So 1250 times 12 equals 15,000 gross rental income. Okay. Now, this example here is going to be for someone that's buying a property in their personal name, and we're going to base them as high rate taxpayers. Okay. So you've got the 15,000 per annum rental income. What you're going to do is divide that by 145%, because they are high rate tax band, and that's usually the stress test that most lenders would go on. So you do 15,000 divided by 145%. Now, I'm going to go with a typical rate of 5%. Sorry, I'm going to go for a typical rate at a 5-year term. So based on a personal name buy-to-let, we're going to base that on 2%. Okay, 2% is the 5-year rate per annum rate. So you've got 1250 times 12 divided by 145%. Divided by 145%. Sorry, excuse me. Times 12 divided by 145%. Okay, divided by. So we're going to go for a 5-year deal, as I said. Now, on 5-year deals, it's calculated at the notional rate with buy-to-let lenders. So that will be divided by 5%. Okay, so this is in a personal name. So if you divide that by 5%, the maximum lending they're going to get is £206,000. Okay, so I'm just going to double check that. I like to double check my numbers. 5%. Yep, 206,896. Okay, so I'm going to round it down. It's 206,896, and this is for a 5-year personal name buy-to-let mortgage. Okay. I hope everyone's with me. So what I'm going to do just for the video, shall I recap that?
Go for it.
Okay, so personal name buy-to-let purchase for 300,000, £1,250 per month rental income. You times the monthly income by 12 calendar months. That gets you an annual gross rent of 15,000 per annum. You take the 15,000 per annum, divide that by 145%, which is the standard stress test for a high rate taxpayer. And then you divide that by 5%, which was a notional stress test. That then equates to a loan of up to £206,896. Now, bearing in mind, most buy-to-let lenders only allow borrowing up to 75%. So that's the maximum loan that rental income will be able to dictate. So with buy-to-let, the rental income dictates the maximum loan size. So bearing in mind the purchase price is 300,000, the maximum 75% of that income there at 75 is 225,000. Okay, so we can't reach the 225,000. However, we can get the client £206,896 mortgage. Now, on the same example,
So I was just going to say, just to butt in, you're looking at, on that structure, as a buyer, you need a deposit of roughly £94,000 in order to buy the property.
Yes, great question. So you'll need a £94,000 deposit. You'll need to factor in stamp duty. So whether you are a additional rate taxpayer, if you're paying an additional property, so you pay an additional surplus of 3%, so you've got to factor this in as well. So stamp duty, 94,000 deposit, and then depending on the lender, some lenders have incentives, some offer free valuation, some offer free legal fees. So we work with the lenders, we'll find out, what we do is we don't just look for the cheapest rate, we'll look at the incentives and the actual cost of the borrowing over that duration of time, in this example for 5 years. Is that okay, Mike?
Absolutely.
So that's that example. All right, so we're going to use the same example, same numbers, but you're borrowing now in a limited company. So this is still a purchase. So it's a purchase of a buy-to-let property. Purchase price is £300,000. The rental income is £1,250 per calendar month. But we're going to buy it now in a limited company. Okay, so once again you take the monthly rental income, which is £1,250. You times that by 12. That gets us the gross income of £15,000 per annum. Okay. You take the gross income per annum, which is 15,000. What we're going to do there is we're going to divide that by 125%. Now, if you guys recall, we did that at 145 in the personal name example. Now, the reason why it's 125, which is actually beneficial, is because you're buying it in a limited company. And they're not concerned about whether you're a basic rate taxpayer or a high rate taxpayer. They're basing it on, you're buying it at a limited company, so we're going to stress it at 125%. So you hopefully can see the benefit there already. So we get the annual rental income, which is 15,000. We divide that by 125%. Okay. Divide that by 125%. And then what they do is, where I divided the previous one by 5%, which is the stress test, they actually divide it here by the pay rate. So the pay rate in
layman's terms.
Layman's terms. There you go. It's been late. It's a late night. In layman's terms, is they then calculate it at the pay rate of the 5-year fixed deal. So the pay rate, in essence, means the rate of interest per annum that the lender is going to charge you. So I'm going to give you a rough indication of what a 5-year per annum rate looks like. And at the moment, we're going to go by that at 3.5%. Now, some of you might be thinking 3.5% for a buy-to-let mortgage is quite sharp. It can be, and it is, and unfortunately that is the rates what it is. But if you do the calculation and just bear with me, you'll see the difference. So we'll do 15,000 divided by 125%, then we divide that by 3.5. So if you guys have got your calculators out, that's going to come to a grand total of £342,857. How much was the previous one, Mike?
204, if I remember right.
206.
206.
So this is limited company, and it's 206,809, something like that, yeah. And this is personal name. So buying it in a limited company allows you, so same numbers, purchase price still the same, the rental income is still the same. However, the calculation is different in a limited company versus personal name. So buying it in a limited company would allow you to borrow up to 342,857 compared to personal name at 206,809. Now, you can see the benefit there. You're going to get a huge more chunk buying it in a limited company. So where the purchase price there is 300,000, you can now actually borrow 225,000. Yeah, so now you can actually borrow 225,000 against the purchase price of 300. Whereas if you bought it in your personal name, you can only borrow 206. So you've just saved yourself outlaying £19,000, which will probably go towards your stamp duty if it's an additional property. So hopefully that helps with regards to how to calculate rental income in a personal name and a limited company, and then this will give you the difference in loan amount. It's a big thing. It's a big calculation. Many lenders have got their own ways of calculating rental income, As I said at the beginning of the video, it is just an illustration, but it gives you a good indication on how it's calculated and the difference. This is what we really wanted to do, is paint a picture of borrowing in a limited company against buying a property in your personal name. Now, as I said, they both have got their pros and cons. Do speak to an accountant if you are going to buy in a limited company. Do speak to mortgage advisors like us to give you that advice and where you may see benefit. But I hope that helps.
That's absolutely fantastic. It's a really good example for those of us who are out looking for a buy-to-let at the moment, and potentially if you already own them already, just to see what the options are that are out there for you. It's something that I can almost guarantee your estate agent and letting agent do not understand and will not discuss with you, and potentially even your high street mortgage advisor who works in an estate agency will not see these different types of structures available to them. Now, that said, there's pros and cons for both in being able to offset the mortgages against tax in different ways and extra administrational charges in the company structure. So again, as Akhil said, engage a good accountant, engage a great mortgage advisor, and it'll open up a whole world more of options to you if you're looking to do something. So hope you enjoyed this segment, and maybe we'll see you next week.